Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are doing great, staying safe and amazing. And today we're going to be talking about cell transport. So cell transport, what is cell transport? Cell transport basically is the movement of molecules to inside and outside of the cell. This is a picture that I got online. I'm going to be, having the link down below in the description below. And this is basically a diagram for a detailed diagram, a labeled diagram for the cell membrane. And now this is what a basic idea, like the basic idea of the cell membrane. So the cell membrane is made up of many stuff, but primarily the phospholipid bilayer. What does bilayer mean? It means two layers. So if you take a look at this, this is one of the layers. This is phospho layer, by the way. This is one of the layers, and this is the other layer. That's why it's called bilayer, because it's two layer. And we have here's a picture of a phospholipid, and we have it consists of a head and of a tail. Okay, let me just delete that because some stuff are written there. So basically, this is the head, and that's the tail. The head is hydrophilic, meaning it loves water. Okay, you guys can note that. It loves water, while the hydrophobic, from phobic, hate. The hydrophobic tail, oh, it's written. I didn't see the head and the tail. So hydrophilic head loves water, hydrophobic tail hates water. So that's what the cell membrane consists of. Now we have two types of transport. Today I'm going to be talking about the passive transport and just two types of passive transport, because I'm going to be briefly explaining the facilitated diffusion, but mainly I'm going to be focusing on diffusion and osmosis. So passive transport is the movement of molecules through the cell membrane without using energy. So what's the idea, what's the main point? Because we also have active transport. What's the between active and passive is that passive does not require energy, while active does. When you're being active, let's say you're exercising, you're being active, that requires energy. But when you're being passive, the amount of energy, you're sitting down, doing nothing, just lying down, the energy, the body is different than cell membrane, because when you're even doing passively just sitting down, doing nothing, you're still going to use energy because you're breathing, right? But the idea is when you're being active, you require more energy. Same idea is that when you're the passive transport does not need energy, and is the movement of molecules through the cell membrane. Okay, but it's also important to list and mention that the passive transport is the movement of molecules from high concentration to low concentration. So, like I said, there's three types of passive transport: diffusion, osmosis, phosphorylated diffusion, and the similarities between these three types of passive transport is that they're all from high concentration to low concentration. They do not require energy. They do not require energy, and they're all types of passive transport. Those are the three similarities between diffusion, osmosis, facilitated diffusion. Now, you may not understand what high concentration means and low concentration means. Now, I'm going to be explaining that. Now, let's go, and so here the main point from passive transport was without using energy. Also, I forgot to write from high concentration to low concentration, but that doesn't matter. Right? I'm going to explain it, so it's fine. So what's diffusion? Let's discuss diffusion. Diffusion is the process in which molecules spread by moving from high concentration to low concentration. But you may wonder what types of molecules, because if we have three types of passive transport, there must be a difference between them, right? There must be a difference in maybe the types of molecules they transport and the location of the transport. In this case, it's actually both diffusion and osmosis and phosphorylated diffusion. They all have different locations and they transport different molecules. For osmosis, for diffusion, the molecules that are transported through diffusion, they're very small, and they're lipid soluble, meaning they can pass through the phospholipid bilayer of the cell membrane. Okay, and it's from high concentration to low concentration. Now let's go back to the picture. You see, for diffusion, the molecules must be small, right? So small molecules such as carbon dioxide, because we know glucose and most of the carbohydrates, for example, sugar or glucose, glucose, the same thing, is like they are big. They're really big compared to, it's not, they cannot pass through the phospholipid because they're big. So diffusion has to be small particles. Carbon dioxide is small, oxygen is small, so these can pass through it. So let's draw a picture. Let's assume that this is carbon dioxide. Even a smaller picture, but for the sake of understanding, just imagine that this is the carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide, because it's small, okay? It can pass through the phospholipid like that and goes out to the other side. Now let's discuss what's high concentration and low concentration by using simply just carbon dioxide. Let's take this as that's the outside of the cell membrane, and that's just the inside of the cell membrane. Let's assume that the outside of the cell membrane has a ton of carbon dioxide. It's carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide. You know, going on and on and on and on. Now this is carbon dioxide. And we have fewer number of carbon dioxides here, just a couple of them, for the sake of understanding. Now, what I mean from high concentration to low concentration is that when the number of carbon dioxide is high, which is from the outside of the cell, it needs to enter this inside of the cell so they can be equal, which means they can be at equilibrium, meaning equal concentration. Because we have something called the concentration gradient, means the difference in concentration in a space. Now, if you take a look at this space of the cell membrane, the outside and inside of the cell, there's a concentration gradient because the outside is the outside is more than the inside, sorry. So, therefore, the molecules, the carbon dioxide molecules, they need to enter inside in order to be equal on both sides. That's what concentration means, high concentration to low concentration. So diffusion, in this case, is from high concentration, which is outside the cell, to inside the cell. It also could be that the concentration of carbon dioxide is higher than in the inside than the outside. So this is just an example. Don't take it as a rule. No, it's not. That's just an example. Now let's go back to diffusion. Like I said, so diffusion is the process in which molecules spread by moving from high concentration to low concentration. Right. So diffusion, let me just highlight that, from high concentration to low concentration. And we must remember, without using energy. Why without using energy, you may wonder? Well, I did mention concentration gradient, right? So molecules, they tend to move from where the concentration is high to low concentration, right? That does not require energy because they're going down the concentration gradient. What does that mean? Is that they're going from high to low. They're not going from low to high. If it was going from low to high, that would need energy. But no, it's from high to low. And that's a natural movement of molecules, okay? That's the natural movement of molecules, unless we have active transport where it's from low to high, okay? But we don't have that. The natural transport of molecules is from high concentration to low concentration. That does not need energy in whatsoever way. So it does not need energy, okay? Now let's go back to diffusion. So like I said, no energy because it's down the concentration gradient. Now let's come to osmosis. Osmosis is really just diffusion, but for water molecules. Diffusion was basically for molecules, small soluble molecules, lipid soluble molecules. Lipid soluble means they can pass through the bilayer of the phosphobilayer of the cell membrane. But osmosis is the movement of water. So let's read the definition. Osmosis is the movement of water particles from high concentration to low concentration. We must remember, without using energy. Well done. So it's without using energy. And let's discuss something that's, osmosis has 3 types. We'll go on the 3 types, but let's just understand what a solute is and the movement of water. Okay? We must understand the movement of water. And in the definition, it's stated that it's from high concentration to low concentration because it's passive transport. It does not require energy. Any substance that's dissolved in water is a solute. Okay? So together, water and solute together, they form a solution, right? Water alone is the solvent, let me remind you. And solute is, let's say we have a cup of tea. A cup of tea, you put your sugar in there, and the sugar is the solute, the water is a solvent, and altogether, the tea is a solution. So let's assume the green, big green balls are solute, and the water are these small ones. Okay. Now, if you notice that on the left side, the water molecules are more than the right side, right? Here, the water molecules are more than the left side. And also, the solute concentration is less than here. Okay, what does that mean? It means here, this part, the water molecules are more than the water molecules. We have more water molecules and less solute. But here, we have fewer water molecules and more solute. I must also add that the cell membrane is selectively permeable, meaning that it does not allow all particles to pass through it. That's an important point. It's a permeable membrane, selectively permeable membrane. Okay? And there's a note that I want you to understand very much. Listen to this carefully as I say this. That solute, we have solute, and we have water, okay? Water moves to the area of high concentration, high solute concentration. So so water will move from here, to here. Why? Because the solute concentration is here more than on the other side. That's why. So the movement of water is to any place that has more solute concentration. Okay? Now let's go to the types of osmosis. We have 3 types of osmosis. We have isotonic, hypotonic, and hypertonic. Now for isotonic, very easy. Okay? And red blood cells. This is an example of red blood cells. The red blood cells in our body, they need to be isotonic. Otherwise, they need to be treated really fast. Otherwise, the patient will die. So isotonic means that the solute concentration is equal to the water concentration. So there's no movement of water because the amount that enters the cell is the same amount that leaves the cell, okay? Whether that's the solute, whether that's the water, the amount is equal. It's like equal concentration of both solute and water. But let's get to hypotonic. Now you see in hypotonic, the cell swells. What does that mean? They swell because water enters. What does that mean? I mentioned earlier that water, the direction of water is to anywhere that has high solute concentration. So that means that the solute concentration of the red blood cell, that the solute concentration inside the cell of the red blood cell was more than the outside. And the water particles were less inside the cell, but they were more on the outside of the cell, meaning that water will enter, okay, will enter the cell. the swell will swell and swell and swell until they burst. They may burst, you know? So hypotonic could be a problem for red blood cells. So water enters the solute because the solute concentration is higher. Water enters the cell because the solute concentration is higher than the outside. So water enters the cell because inside here, let's assume these are the solute concentrations are more. Let's say there's only a few of them outside. So water will definitely enter, okay, because the solid concentration is more on the inside. That was hypotonic, nothing really hard. It's a really nice concept. So the cell here is swelling. Here we have a cell that has shriveled or is shrinked. Water leaves because the solute concentration is higher. Oh, I wrote higher. Inside. Sorry, that's not inside, that's outside. So water leaves, H2O leaves because the solute concentration here is more than the inside. Okay, then that's why water leaves. Water leaves because the solute concentration is more outside. Now that was osmosis, and this was a hypertonic solution. Now let's go back to what I was going to say, something about facilitated diffusion, but it's not the main focus here because today we don't need to study this in the concept that I'm following. But facilitated diffusion is basically the transport of big molecules, of large molecules that cannot pass through the cell membrane. Because they're big, really big, and they're lipid insoluble. Lipid insoluble means they cannot pass through the cell membrane. Therefore, there must be something that will help their transport. We have transport proteins, such as ion channels and carrier proteins. But like I said, you guys don't need to worry about that here. You just need to know what we've studied. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if there's any question that you have, you can comment it down below, and I'll make sure to answer everyone. Bye-bye. Have a great day.